Each bee is finally fulfilling their purpose. Flowers are plenty, nectar is abundant, and they can procreate and create their honey. And I feel like that we humans are in the same boat. We're asking ourselves the questions. What do I want to do if I had abundance, if nectar was plenty? I finally am excited to film this video because I have the spark in me to try and explain what purpose is actually for me. And what do I do when I offer personalized purpose readings? So I kind of want to just give a bit of a backstory to myself, is that when I was in university, I decided that I didn't want to continue the conventional way, which was a master's and a career in psychology. I pretty much stepped into the unknown. And although I had a slight, inner gut feeling that I was doing something right, I still constantly ask myself the question, is this really the right path that I chose? Will I actually succeed? Because I still want to, succeed in life. And have I really made a blunder, throw my life in the fire? And so all of these questions kind of forced me to really look at what is actually life about. And just like I started in my intro, I feel that many of us are asking ourselves the same question. So if I had abundance, if money and time were unlimited, what would I be doing, every day? And I thought that to myself. And for me, the first answer was to actually understand what is this that we're asking ourselves. And many people call it mission in life or purpose. And I feel like today I kind of have thought more of it as the journey of discovering our superpowers. So for me, my purpose is my life where I will discover, develop, and embrace, my superpowers. And so if you think of every superhero movie, the protagonist, starts out with no idea what their powers actually are. And then, something happens in life and just somehow everything clicks that it just comes out of them naturally. And then the whole storyline is, through all of their failures and success, how they just develop, and just embrace it to its fullest extent, their superpowers. And so I view, at least my life, this way. And because I was so interested in, understanding this superhero storyline for myself, like what are my superpowers? Like how can, I develop them and all of that nitty stuff. I kind of went down the rabbit hole of actually trying to understand where does it come from. And so what I discovered is that I had this inner sun in me. So we know that the sun gives the energy to create, life itself. So for plants, for animals, for humans, everybody. And my inner sun is doing that same thing for my superpowers. It's just constantly, pushing out this energy. And then I thought to myself, well, that's interesting. But, we know a lot of stuff about the sun. We know a lot about the chemical, molecules, what it's made out of. and how it, creates this whole like energy. But we don't know much about our inner suns. And to be honest, I didn't know anything about my inner sun. Like, how does it work? Like, what's the best way for it to just, push out as much energy as possible? And I realized that you could actually access that information. So maybe like the best analogy for now I can think of is, imagine that next to that sun there was this caretaker, so a person who knows the perfect ways how the sun will work the best. And so I asked questions to this caretaker. Some of us might think of it as God or Jesus. And the information that I wrote down for myself was eye-opening. And so coming back to the beginning of my storyline and to the beginning of the question of abundance, of what would I be doing, the answers that I got brought me relief, because it did actually correlate with what I was trying to do, and that it was my right step to stop the university and to step into the unknown. Now, to kind of explain how I did this and how you can also do this by yourself, is that number one, my first step was to be present with my feelings. So, I had to stop kind of escaping all my negative feelings that will come up throughout the day. So with like a lot of distractions, and I mean, I'm still kind of doing it right now, but not as bad as before. So whether for you it's to meditate, whether for you is to take just 15 minutes and really, in your daily bustling life, ask yourself that question of abundance. It will really allow you to just not run away, but be present with yourself. Then my second step was to ask the caretaker. Well, in your case, it would be use the answer that you got from the abundance question, and then try and put those answers into these 4 pillars. Because for me, when I was asking about purpose, there were four core ingredients. So number 1 is my passions. So I kind of have to, understand what my passions are. Number 2 are my talents. And number 3 is where my creativity shines. So kind of ask yourself the question, if you can think back to your experience, where have I felt the most creative in my life? And then number 4, which maybe is the most important one, is my problem solving. So what problems do I find easy to solve, and connect that or pick out the problems to something that people right now need. And that's kind of what I explain in my purpose reading. I use those same 4 pillars, and I write down, it on paper, like in words. And what I do with it is that I use it as guidance, so like as flag posts in my journey of discovering my superpowers. And like in the previous video, I constantly ask myself, okay, one of my superpowers that I will develop is guidance. And so right now, am I taking that one step towards that guidance? Yes. Communicating, trying to explain my ideas in ways that other people understand. So you can do the same thing for you. Pretty much that's how I feel like it's the easiest and fastest way to discover your actually superpowers. But remember, you know, it will take time and effort. There will be failures, there will be success, all encompassing, just like that superhero movie. Imagine if that, whatever, Spider-Man, you know, the movie was just 30 seconds, the guy wakes up, he knows, he shoots webs, he knows everything that he's supposed to do, and 30 minutes and the movie ends. Well, that wouldn't be that interesting, would it be? In any case, that's what I think life is all about, you know, the storyline. So it will take time and effort. But if you have those flag posts in you, you can put all your attention towards them and say, okay, I'm on the right path. I will put in that effort. All right, I think that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.